Well, welcome to the first annual father and son chat.
I hope it's going to be more than annual.
Why is everything so much weirder when you're being recorded on camera?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, so my name is Ellie. I'm going to be interviewing my father, business extraordinaire, Mr. Tony Stern. So yeah, let's just fire away. So tell me a little bit about yourself, Mr. Stern, and why you do what you do.
I do what I do because I love it. That's the first and foremost. For me, the property business is like the most phenomenal business that you can be in. It gives you everything you ever want if you're good at it, and it's one of these businesses where you get out what you put in. It's
But it's a difficult business to navigate, though.
Well, if you've got the right tools and you've got the right education and you get the right advice, no, I don't think it is really. I mean, look, every business is hard, you know.
So what would you say to somebody who's scared to enter the property industry?
Well, there's no reason to be scared if you get if you become educated. And that's not, you know, if anyone asks me any advice about this business, to be quite honest with you, I'd say that the most important thing is to get educated. You know,
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is always power. You know, I've been doing this now. This is 40 years in this industry. So it's you know, but that's, you know, I've acquired my knowledge. I've acquired my knowledge at Ogalong.
You've been in the industry for 40 years. So tell me a few of your biggest accomplishments in the property industry.
I'm actually not going to tell you my biggest accomplishment. What I'm going to tell you is my biggest lesson, which actually cost me a lot of money, and it was my first big lesson. I was younger than you. I was around about 24, 25 in London, and through various other businesses that I've been involved in, I had managed to accumulate some money. And what I did was I bought an office building in Reigate, Surrey, which is a suburb of London. And I managed to get some money together and also borrow some money from the bank. And I bought this office building. And it was the first big project that I'd done. I'd done some little tiny projects, you know, buying small houses, splitting them up into apartments, or flats as we call them in London. And that was the extent of my knowledge, really. And I decided now that I, you know, grown some kahunas, so to speak, I'm going to get involved in building an office block. And but what I didn't do, and my lesson to this day, and I learned, is I didn't do enough research. So I'll tell you how this deal went down. I managed to buy, with the bank's help, this building. I think from memory it was a 6,000 square foot office building that was in dire need of renovation. I started work on it, and part of this building was that it was on a bigger piece of land, and we could build some extra square footage on this land, and that's what actually made the deal click. It was a good deal just renovating the office, but it was a really great deal if we built some extra office space on what was the courtyard there. Yeah. And what happened was that when our architects were on site, they discovered that there was a sewer running right through the middle of our site. So let me just tell you. So the sewage pipe, or the sewage system, ran from the top of Reigate and Banstead Borough. Ran straight from the top of Reigate Hill. So because Reigate is built on a hill and it comes back down into a valley. Yeah. And so this pipe ran all the way down the hill, all the way through the town, and smack bang through the centre of my property.
That just sounds really unlucky.
Well, it's not just unlucky, but what happened was, it didn't come up in England. You don't, you know, you have to really do some digging to find out where all the systems are. underground. It's not like you have to really
Even
do
here,
it.
before you start digging, you have to make sure that you know what's below you. There's like a phone number that you have
Yeah,
to
but we're getting off task here. You asked me a question, so I'm going to answer it.
Yeah.
So what happened was that we were told that the sewage pipe went through the centre of our property, and it blighted it. Basically, it was just too cost prohibitive to dig down, move it, change it, wherever. And what I was going to say to you was that if we'd have carried on researching that site as we should have done,
Your due diligence.
we've done better due diligence, we would have found this very old map showing where the sewage system ran and went under.
Yeah.
The problem for me, it was a very costly lesson, because the interest rates in London went from 8% to 16% in a matter of 3 months. The existing tenant and the prospective tenant that I had lined up and signed up, because of the way the economy was going in the UK back in the late 80s, early 90s, pulled out, and I was left with a mess. And I actually lost some serious money in that deal.
Yeah.
And that is really what addressed my mind going forward. I mean, it took me possibly 3, maybe 4 years to recover from that, and it was a horrendous time personally, and that was kind of like the biggest lesson.
So would you say that is a pretty big thing that shaped your career in property? Was that a pretty big life lesson that you learned?
Everything's a life lesson as you go along. You learn every single day. As I said to you, I've been in this 40 plus years, and every day I learn something new. Yeah. And if you don't learn from lessons like that, if there's an old saying, once bitten, twice shy, and 3 times a fool. It's stupid to even consider doing a property transaction without doing the proper research. And I know it kind of brings us full cycle, because obviously I'm a co-founder of Property Onion, and one of the reasons why I founded that was not only just because of the research, because also not because I made the research on each property and finding it, but also because I got the ability to use our own abstractors in our title reports, and they're very thorough. So they'll, if it had been now when I did that property deal, I wouldn't have lost any money, because I'd have found, and if we'd have transplanted it back to London, I know we're in the US now, but we would have found that problem, in the title report. But
Yeah. No, I get that. So you always got to make sure that you know what you're getting into before you even start.
Yeah, it's a major problem. I mean, I meet young guys all the time, and I jokingly call them the dreamers, but I was a dreamer once as well. So, I had all these dreams and aspirations, but you've got to marry that and merge that to common sense, and you have to research. But
So
I'm blind.
So tell me, what's the most exciting project you have going on right now?
The most exciting project I have going on right now is I bought in the Palm Beach auction about a year and a half ago, this massive condominium in Palm Beach Island. It's 6,500 square feet, 5 bedroom, 4 beds. It was in.
Helicopter pad for Mr. Donald Trump to land on?
No, or unfortunately for my helicopter to land on, because I'm slightly out of my pay grade. But it's right on the beach like this is here, and I'll tell you about this property in a minute as well. And as I said, I bought it in auction. It was a very competitively fought auction, but I knew all along it was a great deal. It had the position, and it was in a building that was just being renovated, so the common parts, which were originally put together in the 70s, 80s, they were putting a $7.5 million renovation together. Now, I know from experience that the sooner that you do a condominium, in a building like that, rather the condominiums, common parts has been done up, it organically puts 25% on the value of your apartment. But this was a particularly marquee building in Palm Beach, and it now looks magnificent. It's like equivalent to the Ritz Hotel. You've seen it, of course. And this is a very big renovation now. You know, it's a $1.7 million renovation, and with holding costs, it's about 2.2. But I mean, these all sound like fancy Dan numbers. You know, it's been a long road to get to be able to do a deal like this, but the figures are very simple. We paid 2.5 for it. We're going to put 2.5 in. I'm just rounding this all up, and we're going to sell it for 7.5 million. So that's a good day's work. So that's a deal that's really exciting me at the moment. But where we're sitting now here was a great deal as well. I bought this in auction as well 5 years ago. I paid $425,000 for it. I put 120 into it, and about when I finished, took me about, because of the restrictions here for doing work during the during the season, whereas you're not allowed to put contractors into a condominium and do work whilst it's what I think it's between here it's between there was season ends November through to April, so end of November to beginning of April you can't put any contractors in here. So I had to wait a year to finish the renovation. I had an offer for 800,000 and I turned it down because this is one of the very few times that I've ever done anything like this. I actually fell in love with the building. I'm usually very unemotional about buildings. I like them and I enjoy buying them in a crappy condition, doing them up and then selling them. And obviously the check afterwards is very pleasing. But I kept on coming here to overlook the renovations. I mean, look at it. I mean, we're right on the beach.
This was originally your vacation home, are you?
No. I actually was buying this to flip. And then I turned it into, I said, I'm going to keep this for a while. I turned it into a vacation. And then I decided to, going to stay here. I must tell you, this building today that I paid $425 for, okay, so I'm into it for 5.5. Probably if I put it on the market today, I get 1.5 million for it. Wow. So that's one of my better deals. But I'm not selling this anytime soon.
No, definitely not. This is in the family trust.
Well, we don't know about that. You've got to share it with 2 of your other siblings.
When the time comes, we'll figure it out. Okay, so let me. What do you enjoy doing in your free time, Mr. Stern? Other than doing property, what do you like to do the most? Other than researching properties to buy on auction.
Well, the funny thing is that what is my hobby, and the truth of the matter is that this business is my hobby. Okay.
You're probably as successful as you are. You live and you breathe it, right?
Yeah, but if listen, I love the ocean. We're very fortunate and blessed to have a boat and jet skis and things like that, and we play on the ocean, as you know, as a family. We go out on the boat and we play on the ocean. So that's really where my main hobbies was. I used to love riding a motorbike, but it's very flat here in Florida. As you know, we came from California. There's lots of mountains to ride your bike around. So I don't do that. And so what I did was I swapped the motorbike, as you know, for the jet skis. And that's it. But I must tell you that my hobby is really, in my spare time, much to your mother's chagrin, is the fact that I just love doing property. And every minute I go, I want to look at a property. I want to research it. I want to do some comps. Well, we got your sister to do that for us, because your sister is
family.
Yes, your sister's in the business as well. So, but now my real passion that we started a project 2 years ago is Property Onion. And I want to explain for you and the people at home here the reason why I started Property Onion. I've probably done over 75 in the last 5-6 years here. I've probably about 70, I don't know exactly what the number is, about 70 properties I've bought and sold, or rather I bought, this one I kept, bought at auction. And what used to kill me, and you remember because I wasn't a very pleasant person to be around, is the research is just like enormous on each property. I'd find a property and I would spend 35, 40 minutes just going through all the records and everything else. Then I would go for a drive-by, have a look at it, and it was just killing me.
Yeah.
And in conversation with who now turns out to be Damon, who's my co-founder, who understood my anguish and pain, and he was an architect of, I call him an architect because I'm still old school. He's an architect of websites, and I said, look, there's got to be a better way of making this research easier. I'd like to go down from, say, 40 minutes down to like 8 or 9 minutes, because it's what takes your time up. All the properties, whether you like them or fancy them or not, you've got to look at all of them. So I wanted the ability to be able to discount very quickly the ones I didn't like, and then focus on the properties that I really did like. So
you made this site for other investors as well? Is pretty much what.
Well, actually, I was actually selfish. I started off trying to see if I could get a website made just for me and my need. But we actually decided that we could actually create a community around this, and sure, there's a financial side to it as well, but we're more pushing the community side, and so that's why that now, without sounding like I'm giving everybody a picture, the prices are very reasonable. They're not, we're not going to get rich overnight on these. Yeah. And now what has happened is that this has developed into there's Mr. Donald Trump flying by in his helicopter. I'm joking. That's why we, this kind of evolved and developed out of my own selfish need and want. And it's grown today. We've got 50,000 properties that are off market on websites now, and 5,000 are being added monthly. It's a colossal site. What started off again as a small, help me website has now got 3 million lines of code in it, and is expanding. Now we're in 20 counties, and we can, for me now, I sit down, although I'm not actually doing that many foreclosures at the moment because I'm concentrating on running Property Onion, which is kind of a sort of an oxymoron really. But anyway, sorry, I lost my train of thought here.
So a Property Onion came out through a very organic process. Just you were helping out yourself, and then from there, it's just like you figured out you could build a community around this website where you could essentially help other investors make their life a lot easier. I think that's the best part about Property Onion, is that the fact that it just started off with a need for yourself, but it wasn't just really a need for yourself. It was a need that a lot of these other investors were looking for, but they didn't even know that they had the resource or tools available until Property Onion.
I go as far to say now that anybody that is going to deal at the foreclosure auctions or tax deed, if you don't use Property Onion, and again, I know this sounds like a worn out old pitch, but it's the truth. You'd be mad not to use this tool. It just, the people out there, and I know that, if you haven't switched off already, but go to propertyonion.com, take a free tour and see what I'm talking about. It's a magnificent, crazy site. And I use it. If I get the urge to go and buy a property from auction, which is probably once every couple of weeks, I will sit down at that Property Onion site and I will not stop until I've found 2 or 3 properties that I really want to go. And then I still do the old-fashioned way. It's crazy. I go on the drive-bys. Everyone says, what are you going on a drive-by for? But it just satisfies me. But,
being that you created this first for yourself, what would you say is the most, what is the best aspect, what is your favorite aspect about using Property Onion? Just for yourself, as for an investor, what is your favorite aspect?
Well, everybody's different, and for me, I love the fact that I can send everything to a spreadsheet. I'm a spreadsheet guy. You know, that's how I started off doing all these searches, was finding these properties and was cutting and pasting them from everywhere, putting them into a spreadsheet. And Property Onion website, you know, obviously the premium edition, does it for you, you know. So you get all these properties, it puts them into a spreadsheet. You can choose which field you want. I mean, it's just crazy easy. I mean, it's, you know, I'm a salesman, as you know, and as you well know, and I can't sell anything that I don't believe in. And this is just, it's just.
It saves you time.
Yeah, it's just, you know, and I get excited talking to it. I think I talk the donkey's ears off of people about it. I meet people at these real estate investment meetings, and they ask me what I'm doing, and they probably regret asking that question, but hey ho.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, it's a great way to save you time. But based on when I'm looking at it, it's a very user-friendly interface, and I think this day and age, like, people, they kind of need to be led through the process, and I think that's what the website does. It lays everything out in a very nice way, so it just doesn't seem like an overload of information. It's just very crisp and clean. So I mean, that's a credit to you and your partner for developing such an incredible website.
I'll give him a tremendous headache.
Yeah,
I mean, every time I come up with an idea, he's going, I'm still working on your idea from 2 weeks ago. But you know, the thing about it is that, you know, this business is such a fabulous business, and there's just so much that you can. There's so many different angles.
There's a lot to learn, though.
Yeah, well, you know,
there's a lot of layers to it.
Well, you know now that we're going to start doing seminars very shortly, where we're going to put people into a room and we're going to share some of our experiences. We've got 2 industry experts that I've been talking to for the last 2 weeks, and they very kindly said that they are prepared to come down and educate some of the people at the seminar. But here is something that's really interesting. I came up with the idea that not everybody has the time and effort to put in to researching and then bidding on these properties at auction. So I came up with an idea: why don't we bid for them? So that's another thing that we're working on slowly now. But you know, so if one of your questions are going to be what am I doing now? Every time I get out of bed in the morning, I'm thinking of another idea that we can put on the site that can help some of our brethren to make some money.
Yeah, I get that. So I guess that was my next question. Is like, what makes you excited about Monday? But you're just excited every single day of the week, just to keep adding on to property.
Well, actually, I kind of get get pissed off on a Friday because there's no auctions on a Friday in Palm Beach, which is my favourite, place to do business. And then I love Mondays because there's always an auction. And Sundays is pretty cool, is because I can then go and do some research. I sneak off, I say that I'm going to go for a cigar somewhere, and I'm not really, I just go out and down to the lounge and do some research. That's really kind of lame, I'm not going to lie. Well, I take my laptop, I mean, that's it. I mean, again, you know, it sounds like another pitch, but I go and take my laptop with Property Onion and open it up and just do some research, because it's, you know, that's the way it is.
Yeah. So tell me, where in South Florida do you like to buy? Where do you like to buy the majority of your property?
Well, this rule doesn't apply to everybody for sure, but for me, I enjoy buying in an area that I know. So wherever we've been on our travels, you know, whether it was London or Los Angeles or Kansas, Florida, I'm a great believer in buying where you know, where you understand the areas. Now, I've been coming here for like 19, 20 years, but I didn't start to get to know the area intimately until the last 5 years when I lived here. And so I really concentrate now on the areas between West Palm Beach and Deerfield. And I go as west as probably Boca West, which is about, I don't know, 15 miles west here. Because that's where I understand, that's where I know, that's where I'm comfortable. And I think my advice to anyone in the business is don't scattergun, don't try and buy everywhere. Just concentrate on an area. Because when a property comes up for auction,
you immediately know that area and where it is, whether it's good, whether it's bad. You know, that's just my philosophy. You know, I just feel comfortable buying in an area that I know. So to answer your question, West Palm Beach to Deerfield, west 15, 20 miles, Palm Beach County, South Florida. That's mine, baby.
So you gotta essentially feel comfortable you gotta feel confident in the fact of where you're buying.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, you know, the fact of the matter is that if you tell me there's a condominium in Highland Beach, okay, I know Highland Beach intimately. I've bought properties there, I've looked at properties there, and so I immediately know what's going on. So if I look at auction and there's a condominium coming up in a particular building in Highland Beach, I know that building. I know roughly what it should sell for, and I know instinctively the state of the building. It's just the knowledge of the area, and it's to just say, if you show me a single family home at, say, Lighthouse Point, which is sort of going past Deerfield Beach for a certain extent, I know that area as well. It's just, I just got to do where I'm comfortable. That's just me.
So I know you're not an economy expert, but where do you see the housing economy in the next few years in Florida, or not just saying that, or the US?
You're right. I'm not an economist. I don't know. Florida itself is a microeconomy, and especially South Florida. I deal in, as you know, I've been concentrating on the buying condominiums in original condition, adding value and flipping them. Now that's great when the economy is really strong because people have second homes down there, even third homes. But when the economy generally in the country is tight, the first market that suffers is the luxury market, the holiday market. That's why the jewellery market is always the first into recession, the last out, and that's the same in South Florida. It's the first into recession, it's the last out, because people can do without their secondary holiday homes. They let them go. People aren't interested in buying them. It's the last thing on their mind. They want them battening down the hatches. Now, you ask me, where do I see the economy going? I'm not an economist. Wherever I've been in the country, and wherever I've been operating my property businesses, is that I just concentrate on that microeconomy and how's that doing. Yes, you have to have a periphery vision to see what is going on outside of your bubble. I think that right now, we're the only economy that is doing well, it seems, in the Western world. We things seem to be okay. One of my friends asked me the other day, where am I going to continue to buy condominiums in this market, because it's right at the very, very top. And I say, yeah, I think this economy is good for another 8 months to a year. I wouldn't get into any long-term deals down here. But the thing about it is that what crushes you is if you buy at the top of the market and you don't get out quick enough.
So, tell me, Mr. Sten, how do you want to be remembered?
Well, first of all, I don't want to disappoint you, but I don't plan on going anywhere just yet. So you and your sister and brother will have to wait a few years. How do I want to be remembered? I want to be remembered as someone that played it fair, someone that was passionate, someone that was happy to share information, just an all-round good guy.
Yeah. So you want to leave this world a better place than...
I don't want to leave this world. What is it? You're going on about me leaving this world, for God's sake. I'm going to be around. There's 1,000 more bills out there I want to buy. Oh my God.
Edit. So, Mr. Sten, how do you want to be remembered?
No, that's fine. It's fine. I know that it's one of the questions that you've always asked me. You're in a...
Your legacy. What's
my
your
legacy? My legacy you're going to enjoy. See it? Yeah, this is your legacy right here. I told you. Every day is an adventure. Every day's an adventure.
Well, you've created. I mean, the way I see it, you've created something that's going to help hopefully he's got millions of people, and I think that's a fantastic legacy to leave behind.
Well, I think millions is a bit of an exaggeration, but certainly tens of thousands would be nice. But yeah, anyway. Can we go to work now and earn some money?
Yeah, let's go.
All right.